sound check and see whether or not we're coming through loud and clear. If somebody might give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Anybody out there? There's Tammy in the background. She's about to join us. And let's have a look. What we've got going on. We've got Fashion Forward Mums with us already. She says, hey, everybody, I did my thumbs up. Did you? We appreciate early thumbs up. That is good. Thank you very much. In fact, right now, everybody who's joined us right now is giving us a thumbs up. We like that. That's great. Nacho Line says, yeah, I did too. Nova Frenches. Hey, James, can I do an AI at 24 with a fine care machine? Absolutely, you can. That's a great number. So on a fine care machine, it does read higher than an IDEX. With an IDEX machine, you typically do your first, well, ovulation on IDEX about a 5, maybe a 7 on a fine care. The day after that on IDEX, it'd be an 8. And the day after that, it'd be a 15, and that'd be your first breeding 2 days after ovulation. On a fine care machine, that number is more like an 18 to a 20. If I had the option of only doing a single AI on a fine care machine, it'd be in the 22s to 24s. That would be the place I would do a single AI. If I was going to do 2 AIs with a fine care machine, I'd start at 18, do the next one a couple of days later, and probably by then would be in the high 20s or maybe even the 30s. So 24 is fine. It should be good. And also, I keep talking about this. We want to see this graph where or draw it this direction, where it's been going along, and then all of a sudden it takes a bit of a climb after about 5 days. And then at ovulation, typically around day 9, typically blood colors going pinkish, it makes this rapid increase. This point right here, where you see this big jump in numbers between one day and the next, that was ovulation. And typically you'd be breeding 2 days later. So this point here on a fine care might be a 7. The day after that, it might be a 12. And the day after that might be an 18. So you're in good shape. That should be just fine. Fashion Forward Mum just had some puppies. Congratulations. You had them Tuesday. So hopefully you're in a good place now. It's always that first day or two where it's a bit, it can be sketchy, right? Mum's milk. Mum might not quite know how to be a mum yet. Puppies are pretty frail. Now Tuesday now, where Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're day 6, day 5, something like that. At that point, if things are going good, typically they keep on going good. So hopefully you're in a good shape. So congratulations. 4 girls and 2 boys, Shih Tzus. Yeah, well, that's a decent litter. I don't know what Shih Tzus typically have, but I would think that's a pretty decent sized litter for a Shih Tzu, if I was guessing. You might tell us if that's true. I love more girls than boys. That's always a good thing. Has anybody ever, so she says, has anybody tried a problem female by Breeder's Edge? Any luck with it? I don't know what problem female is. So why don't you tell us what that is? Sally says, can hear great, good. Gentle Giants is with us. Good to see you. Frenchy Frenzy, KC. So excited we have Mando and Mickey Blue held for my 2 girls. Well, good. Also my traveling incubator and other goods for my British supply. Cody's been great. Well, wonderful. So Cody's our son, and these days he is the my British supply person. It's Cody. It hasn't been Tammy and me for quite some time, but we're still here to help with anything and give advice and those kind of things. But Cody is the one who heads up the whole company these days, and he does a good job at it. Strictly Facts 24. Potty training 6-week-old puppies. Any advice? Oh yeah, we're going to start talking about our puppy poop tray here in a second. So what do? So typically when you wean puppies, which is going to be sometime after, for us it'd be week 4, week 5, something like that. Mum may not be, so you basically wean them off mum. You might have them with mum half the day, and then you get them where they're only a quarter of the day, and then they're not with mum at all. So you've got to do this transition. So when they do that, you obviously they're not getting milk anymore. Now they're getting some softened kibble, some kind of goat's milk and kibble slurry, and the poop changes, and the quantity of poop goes up. And mum, if she's there, typically doesn't want to clean it up anymore. And so you've got this problem where puppies are crapping all over the place, right? They're just crapping anywhere. So there's a couple of things about this. First off is they've learned from mum this behavior of eating poop, this horrible, nasty behavior of eating poop. That doesn't do anybody any good. It's not any fun to watch. Other puppies are then standing behind a puppy that's pooping, waiting to get it like a soft serve ice cream, which is just totally disgusting. The poop falls on the ground. They're trampling in it. They're treading on it. It just makes a huge mess. It makes a huge mess because you've got poop all the time. You keep changing out pee pads. It gets expensive. And next thing you see is puppies start getting intestinal parasites like Giardia coccidia. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why you should be worming your puppies at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, is to help stop those things from ever developing. But I can tell you, it's very common to get either or both Giardia and coccidia. So what are you going to do about this poop? Well, the only thing you can do is to keep the poop out of the way. That's the problem you've got. How do you do it? You get our puppy poop tray. So our puppy poop tray, and maybe there's some people there who are using our puppy poop tray and tell us how bad or how good it is. But the idea behind the puppy poop tray is it's designed so, first off, it's very shallow. It's only 1.5 inches high. So small puppies can get up on it okay. It's firm enough that they don't feel shaky on it, so they like being on it. And then the slats in it are big enough that the poop falls through. It's not square holes and round holes like you see a lot of these poop trays, which is totally the wrong way to do it, because guess what? Poop's not like rabbit pellets. Poop's like Tootsie Rolls, and it has to have something that's shaped like this to fall through. So basically what you'll find, and maybe some people will attest to this, is typically within 24 hours or maybe even less, when you put the poop tray out there, they start using it. It's magic. I mean, it's one of those things that we came up with here some time ago, and I've got lots of you now using them, and a lot of you. I haven't had anybody, not a single person's returned one, which is wonderful. But it just flat works. And so now what you find is it's not 100%. It takes a little bit of time, but typically within 24 hours, most of the poop is being done on the poop tray. It's not being in it, so they can't get to it. It falls right through the poop tray. Sometimes it kind of lays sideways across the slate, but somebody will knock that piece of poop, and then it goes down below where they can't get to it. So it means they're pooping in one place. You're not having to change out pee pads that cost $1 a piece every 30 minutes. And they're not able, and they break that habit of eating poop. So as far as poop is concerned, now you gave me the opportunity to try and sell my products. It just flat works right. And I mean, it is really the answer to it. Okay. And now I've lost my questions. Let me get back to them. Sorry. Oh, come on. If I can get back to my questions. Sorry. Here we go. All right. I've got lots of questions here. I'll catch up with things. Where are we? Potty trays and small play yards make it okay. So Fashion Forward Mum says a potty trays and a small play yard make it easy. Well, that's something else. That's exactly right. You want to put them in an environment where they can start moving around and getting some exercise and playing with each other and learning how to socialize. But don't make it so massive that you've got to put pee pads everywhere. So we typically set up maybe a 5x5 playpen. We use some that we buy. You can go and buy on Amazon. They're panels. They have rods that slot them together. You can make any shape you want. And typically we'll have, I think each panel's maybe 2 foot. And we have 3 of those on the side. So that'll be a 6x6 playpen. That works great. And then we actually put their crate that they've been in with mum in that as well. We close that up during the daytime. So we put a puppy poop tray inside the playpen, inside the crate for nighttime, and one outside for daytime. They don't have access to the one that's in the crate in the daytime. All right, enough of that. Forget Me Not Frenches is with us from Australia. Great to see you here. GNC Masters is with us. Great. Fashion Forward was talking about a Shih Tzu. She says they're growing from 1 ounce to all the babies are growing awesome. They went from 1 to 7 ounces. Well, great, good. From 1 ounce, good Lord, that's small. That can't be right. No, you must mean something different. A 1 ounce puppy would be very worrisome. So you might tell us what that actually is. Okay. So Gentle Giant, I asked a question about what is Problem Female. It's a supplement from Breeder's Edge to help with fertility issues. It says Problem Female is estrogen for females to help them regulate them. if they haven't been in heat. Okay. Well, okay. So, when I start hearing about things for bringing dogs to ovulate, I mean, the only things that would make a lot of sense would be things like estrogen, I think. Most of these things I think are probably the snake oil, but maybe that one is one that actually works. So somebody might chime up here and say, what if I've had any experience with it. Fashion Forward Mum says, yes, 6 is a big litter for Shih Tzus. Her first litter. Thanks for all your advice. It really helped. Well, good. You're welcome. So Gentle Giants, Fashion Forward Mum says, companions shave. Have you used it? I guess we're talking again about probably this product that brings fertility in. I don't know. For Forget-Me-Not Frenches, has anyone had puppies spitting their worming liquid back out? I was doing Panicure 100 in Baycock 3 days in a row for Mum and Pups, but he just hates it and struggled to give it yes. Right, so yeah, so the problem with this, and we do come across this, is where puppies, they get, the first time you worm them, it's fine, but the next time you worm them, the next day, they know what's coming. They don't like the taste of it, and they try to, shaking their head and spitting it up and so on and so forth. What Tammy does is that she gives it to them and she blows in their face. And she swears that makes them swallow. So that's what she does. So you can try that. It's obviously, it's free to try.
Yeah.
And you got your phone with you? Good. Tammy's with us. Here's Tammy. She's been playing with our daughter's Chanel is her birthday today.
Yeah, 33.
33.
My baby's 33 years old.
And her baby is not 9 weeks old. So we've been over there.
She's 3 months.
Is she 3 months now?
Yeah, she's 3 months.
Okay.
Chanel's 33 and she's 3.
Right.
3 months.
Sonny Jones is with us from Dallas, Fort Worth. Good. Gentle Giant says, I have never had to. I use prenatal and postnatal supplements. I also use oral calcium powder for mum when nursing. All right, so the things that we do is we always give, and I suggest you do, we give folic acid to our mums. This is this prenatal thing, and so we use it in humans these days, and it helps with birth defects. It doesn't mean it's going to fix birth defects so that you can't have a birth defect in taking folic acid, but things like cleft palates hopefully would be reduced, less likely to occur if you give, and it's quite a bit. The problem that I see is in things like Oxymate and Oxymama, they don't have enough of the folic acid. They've got typically 0.8 of a gram or 800 micrograms. And apparently the right dosage is 5 grams, which is a lot more than that. That's like 8 times as much. So we actually sell on My Breeder Supply 5 milligram tablets. They're not very expensive. Okay. Fashion for Mum says the puppies are loving the heat under their tray. They eat and go straight back to the heat and then back to mum. So we're talking about a heated whelping system where we have this tape that goes on the bottom of the tray with a thermostat to keep that temperature at 104 degrees. And it keeps puppies in a place they want to be, nice and warm right under the pig rail. So they're very, very safe. They're close to mum. Mum's happy. They go find mum when they want to nurse. When they finish nursing, they go back under the pig rail. We leave our babies and mums together 24/7. They just eat whenever they're ready, as opposed to you having to maybe take puppies out of an incubator every 3 hours and put them with mum, and mum's getting distressed because she doesn't know where her babies are. So good for you. All right. So GNC Mastiffs is talking about Be Strong from Breeder's Edge. Helps with bringing your female into heat or regulating her. Okay, haven't used it. So yeah, Muhard Ingram says, yes, the blowing in their faces does make them swallow. So there you go. Somebody else agreeing that. Fashion Forward Mum, I did the folic acid because of you, and they're all healthy, which made me happy. I mean, so I don't, it's one of those things that it's not guaranteed that everything's going to be perfect because you took folic acid, but it's so inexpensive, and it's something that's well documented now for humans. It just makes sense to use it. Fashion Forward Mum says, hi, Miss Tammy.
Hey.
So we're slowing up on questions here. So while that's going on, I'm going to say, those of you who haven't given us a thumbs up, please do so. If you haven't subscribed, it lets you know when we drop new videos. And while we're talking about new videos and things that we've been doing, if you go to breeder101.com, that's where our courses are. And there's about 6 courses on there. Sally might chime in here, but I think there's a discount going on. I think it's still going on those courses. And also, if you go to breeder101.com, there are some PDFs, some free PDFs that you can download. Things about vaccinations, things about puppies, things about puppy contracts. They're all things that you can download, and they're free. All you have to do is give your email, because what we do with the email is we send you information on our courses. But we don't hound you. We don't just send emails out every, how this is when you get this email. It starts off, I hope this email finds you well. I mean, immediately it's crap, don't you, Tammy? How many of those do you get a day? Too many, right?
Yeah, and the spam phone calls about 5 times a day.
I
So
know.
frustrating.
It is, isn't it? It is. It's but everybody's trying to make a buck is the problem. So this is it used to be that we'd send out those little.
Well, we're
business
still
cards.
getting business calls for the secret gardens, and they're still trying to sell us stuff. And I tell them, 10 years we've been out of this business.
We sell wedding venue, and 10 years later
they go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We'll take you off the list."
And they don't.
No.
Yep, and they don't.
No.
Right. Ariel Jamin is with us. She's late. How are you, Tammy?
Great.
Fashion Forward Promise says hi, Miss Tammy. She also says, "Are you all's moving going well?" Well, we had a whole day of it today.
Yes.
So, how are you feeling? Are you feeling like a bit
My
sore?
eyes are all dry from
being out in the sun
on that concrete and stuff. Yeah.
Right. So we moved 2 trailer loads and 2 truckloads. I say truckloads, pickup truckloads of stuff.
Yeah. Back of the Denali full, and the pickup back of it was full.
And a flatbed trailer. So 2 loads of that. So we're just moving 5 miles. It's a beautiful place. Lots of room for the dogs
But
to
it was
run.
a lot of heavy stuff today.
Right. Yes. So we'll show you a video of the dogs running around. We'll get them all situated. But they're going to love it there because it's so.
Well, that'll be about a month before we do that.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So the move's going good. Now we've got to sell this house. Anybody want to buy a house? It's a great house here, right here in Edmond, Oklahoma. It's here if you want it. Forget-me-not Frenchies. The Australian folks say, question about the portable incubator. My temps here in Australia are around 24 to 30 most days. If I need to take my 3-week-old puppy for a few hours drive, what temp do I change it to? So the answer to this is that you've got to be careful. So I'm going to give you, since you're in Australia, you're talking about centigrade, right? So here in America, we talk Fahrenheit. So typically, I like to set the incubator to about 38. That's around, what is that? That's around 100. I have to think here for a second. Someone can point me in the right direction. It's about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe. It's going to be close to that. Sounds hot, right? But you've got to remember that puppy's temperature is around 100 degrees. And so it's got to be around their temperature. Otherwise, they get cold. What you have to be careful about is if you put lots of puppies in an incubator and you set it to 38, the temperature can start going up above that because they're generating their own heat. So we always, when we're driving to or from, we put puppies in there. We then check them, especially the first 5 or 10 minutes, to make sure they're fine. If you open the top up and they've got their tongues out or they're panting, they are definitely, or they're trying to climb up the sides of the wall of the cage.
Crack that thing open.
Got it too hot. Turn it down and crack the lid open, right? Remember our incubators heat up from the floor, so you can have the lid open and it doesn't really affect things at all. It just gives them more airflow. It doesn't cool them off particularly. So, but I would start at 38. And if the puppy is quiet and sleeping, you've got the right temperature. If the puppy's crying, then it's not panting but crying. It may be that it's a little bit cold or it's hungry. If it's panting, definitely too hot. Turn it down. Be careful. You can definitely cook a puppy. Forget-me-not says, do I need to set the minimum? No, I don't think so. No, I'm not sure what we set the minimums to these days, but I think we set the minimum to 30 and the top end to 50. So we set it so you can't go below 30 and you can't go above 50. You don't want to be below 30. So, yeah. So I would set the thing for 38, maybe 36, something around that number. 30 is going to be too cold. Rosetta Sanchez gives a thumbs up. Good. I'm not sure I recognize Rosetta being with us.
I'm glad she gave us a thumbs up.
Yes, exactly.
Right. We need more thumbs ups.
Right. Forget-me-not Frenchie says, how is Gucci?
She's doing good. She's been ignored the last few days because of the moving, and it's not fair.
Right.
And so I have to make sure I give her time shared of chasing the ball, running like a crazy wild dog.
She's a high energy dog.
Yeah, she has to be walked every day, and it's like, it's been busy.
So Tucson House of Frenchie says, hello, how are you guys? Gold members' first litter will hit around the ground in June. Can't wait. Well, congratulations. Good deal. Fashion for mums. Is there a test to show that a female has been in heat before, like maybe detect a sign of heat? Well, yes and no. So there isn't a test per se that shows whether a dog has had a heat cycle, but there is, of course, a test that shows if a dog has been in heat in the last 2 months. It's called a progesterone test, because what happens is, regardless of whether a dog has been bred or not, the heat process starts with this rise in progesterone from a level that's probably less than 1 or close to 1, and then rises up gradually over the next 10 days, 15 days until you breed the dog. And it keeps on going up north of that number into the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and it stays that way for the next 2 months. So the actual whole heat cycle itself is something like 71 days, because you've got to add 11 days onto the 61 days of heat from ovulation, 9 days to get there. You're about 71 days total, 70 days total. So yes, if you do a progesterone test on a dog and the number's sub 1, the dog's not in heat. If you do a progesterone test and the number's in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, the dog is in heat. And if you had a silent heat, that's what you'd see. But if you bought a dog and somebody says, this dog has never had a heat cycle, there's not a test that could prove that, other than the fact that she's in heat right now. I hope that explains it. Fashion forward mum says, Lowell, wish I could buy another house. Well, you can. Have some puppies and sell them. I mean, that's what we've done, isn't it?
I know.
I mean, it really is. It really is. I mean, so, we've been
doing it for 25 years.
We've been doing it for a long time, but I can tell you that, I mean, it's been a lot, of all the businesses that we've done a lot of things.
Yep.
Computer companies.
James had a business that was for 35 years.
Computer company.
Yeah.
Right.
And we had a wedding venue.
Had a hotel.
And James and I were out in the pool one day and said, why are we working so hard? Because we were doing the dogs too.
Right.
And so we said, yep. That's when we decided to slack off a little bit. Just pay attention, focus on just the dogs.
And it's been great.
Yep.
So, our day these days is centered around dogs. And, it's very fulfilling because we're doggy people. We like animals. We've got a couple of cats. We like animals, period, right? Mm-hmm. We're just animal people.
Yeah.
And
I wished I could have little ponies on the new place, though.
Just have horses, yeah. We don't have any. Well,
I miss my horses.
Can't have ponies there, unfortunately.
I'm going to sneak my chickens in, though.
Yeah, we've had chickens before, too, right? Chickens are fun, aren't they?
Yeah.
I like chickens.
I like chickens.
They kept the ticks down, too, didn't they?
Yep, the ticks and the fleas.
Yeah,
and
right. Chickens, and they were just fun to have them.
Yeah.
You'd be messing around the flower beds. Uh-huh. So when we had the wedding venue, they're
so calm, yeah.
There was lots of flower beds. I mean, how many flower beds do you have there?
I had that around my house. We didn't have the chickens out at the wedding venue.
No, but you'd see one every now and then, just kind of running around out there, clucking around. I mean, it was kind of free-range chickens that you put up at night. Mm-hmm. There was 20 acres there that the chickens could kind of roam around on. But they'd stay within a couple of acre area, basically.
Yeah.
Around where that hutch was. But they were just peaceful, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I even had cats, and the cats left them alone.
Yeah, right.
Well, we had one rooster, though. That's what kept the cats away, I think, from the chickens.
Yep. Rosetta Sanchez says, hello, Miss Tammy, and hello, James. Hi. So Forget Me says, it was just the one. I did put him in. He was panting, so I took him out. Well, look, if it's panting, it is too hot, open the lid up and turn the temperature down. And then find where that place is that's happy. So, if it's a really hot in Australia doing this, certainly the number might need to be a bit lower. So you have to experiment, right? It's a good question here from Frenchy Frenzy. Do you all spin down the semen to a pellet prior to AI, and do you use a semen warmer? So the answer to this is, first off, the only time, and we hardly ever do it, the only time we would ever spin semen down is if you're going to, if the dog is urinated in a sample and you're going to ship it, you spin it down, because you get, basically what happens is when you spin semen down, it goes from a volume of maybe 5 cc's down to something that's maybe a quarter of a cc. And what you find is that it all goes clear on you, and the bottom there's a thing that looks like, not much bigger than a grain of rice. And that's all the semen in a little bundle. You've got to do this very slowly. You do not spin at a high speed. You've got to spin at a low speed, one of your lowest settings, for quite some time, maybe 10 minutes, certainly 5 minutes to get it spun down. When you spin it down, you can then take a syringe and suck off all the prostate fluid off the top and get down where you've only got a cc in there. And then you could add extender to that, warmed up extender, and that really would be the best way that you could ship it. It's if the dog has not urinated in a sample, and that just hardly ever happens to us. I mean, I can only think of a handful of times out of maybe 10,000 samples where that's happened. So the answer is no, we don't spin it down. But if you do spin it down, be very careful. Make sure you spin it down slowly. If you've got a lot of semen to put in a small dog, then maybe spinning it down will make some sense, because you can get rid of some of the fluid. What I would recommend in a situation where you've got a small dog, and maybe like I've got a 15-pound Frenchie and you've got 10 cc's of a sample to put in a dog, I would just put it in 2 loads. I'd take half it up, leave the other in the fridge, take the half, put it in the dog, get that done, wait a couple hours, and then put the other half in and not spin it down. That's what I would do. Because spinning, so you also ask, and do you use a semen warmer? No, we don't. When you collect semen, you've got to add warmed up extender to it, which is nothing more than putting the sample bottle of extender in a bath of hot water for a few minutes as you're doing the collection, so it's nice and mildly warm. That fixes that. But when you go get it and you're ready to inseminate your girl, you don't need to warm it up. It'll warm up naturally within a few minutes. So if you want to look at it under a microscope, then it's going to look pretty dead when it's cold. Coming from a decent system like our shipmate system, it'll be at 5 degrees centigrade. It'll look like it's all dead, but it'll start moving around, and within a few minutes, it'll all be lively moving around. So you just don't need to warm it up. So you can avoid that. And I mean, the other part about this is the less you have to muck around with it, I think the better off it is. I think the quicker that you can do it, the less mucking around, the less chance of making a mistake. So I don't like the idea, particularly of spinning semen down. Some of you may say differently. If you do, tell us why. Tammy, forget-me-not Frenchie says, what age do you start crate training puppies?
Well, let's see, when they go in their play area, they're probably about 4 weeks old, 5 weeks. So they are in a crate then. They're where they can go in and out of the crate. And sometimes I go ahead and shut the door, because in case they're going in there and pooping in that area for some odd reason, I just keep it clean. And then when it's nighttime, I tell them, let's all go night-night. And I put them all in the pen. And then they go back into the little crate and they go to sleep.
So when our puppies leave, typically they are really crate trained at that point, aren't they?
Yeah, they really
so
are.
They typically leave us when they're something over 10 weeks old. So we don't like puppies to leave before they've had their...
And they're pottying on that poopy tray.
Right. So they're crate trained. So, for you don't really force anything. You kind of have...
I said poopy tray. What's the name of it? I'm gone blank.
Poop tray.
Poop tray. I'm so tired.
Poop tray.
Yeah, poop tray.
But you don't really force this. It just kind of comes naturally, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They're used to being in a crate at nighttime, right from the very beginning, from when they're born. They're used to being put in a crate every night.
I make sure that they've got like chewy bones in there and a little stuffed toy that they can lay on to as well.
And no food in there.
No food.
Nope.
And no water.
Right. Because you want them to hold...
Because they'll be eating all night long.
Yeah, and crapping all night long.
And drinking water and peeing. Yeah.
Right, so hold that back.
Teach them to eat in the morning and take it away at night. I let them free feed during the day to a certain point, and then I start taking it away and then put it back,
So
twice
I'm
a
going
day.
to back you up on that, because with your puppies, when you've got lots of puppies around, you don't free feed them though, do you? When your puppies are like you're getting weaned and they're 5 weeks old, you put food out for about 10 minutes.
Oh, a little bit longer than that.
15 minutes, 20 minutes, twice a day, right?
About 30 minutes a day.
Okay, 30 minutes twice a day.
And then I take it away.
Take it away.
And then I give it back to them,
right.
Towards the evening.
And then hopefully what you
but
find
hopefully
is
they ate real good.
You gave them food for 30 minutes. 30 minutes later, they've all finished crapping. They've finished their crapping part. So you can then, if necessary, clean out the poop tray. So you've got a nice clean poop tray for the rest of the day, pretty much anyway. Not totally, but pretty much, right? Yep. So, yep. So again, for transition to their new homes, maybe around 8 weeks. So again, we like to wait till 10 weeks, but some people do it sooner. What age can puppies fly? How old do they have to be to fly? Do you know? There's some rules on that. Do you know what they are? To fly a puppy in America, 10 weeks old.
Well, it used to be. I think it was just the nannies were real strict about it.
Okay. Right.
But they can go at 9.5 weeks, for sure.
Yep.
10 weeks.
Fashion Forward asks about the puppy shots, 5-in-1 or 7-in-1. Both fine. We do 5-in-1. You can do 7-in-1. If you've got a high dog content,
what's in the 7-in-1? What's the other
Bordetella and I think kennel cough, maybe the 2 extra ones in there. I may be wrong.
And all the puppy shots, or just this?
Well,
probably the 15-week shot.
Well, yeah. So we do a different shot on the third shot, and I think it's a 7-in-1 on the third shot. So you add some things in there, like I think the kennel cough. But there's lots of different shots you can have. And I mean, the 5-in-1 is a basic shot and start there. If you've got lots of dogs and you've got a kennel environment, which we don't, if you had a kennel environment, then maybe doing things like kennel cough makes sense too, right? That's about all I can say about that, because otherwise I'm going to tell you things that aren't true. So someone says, what age do you start crate training at? So the answer is that you really...
about 4 and 5 weeks.
When we wean them is really when
they're...
Yep, right.
Yeah.
Are you going to breed Gucci? Rosetta Sanchez says, are you going to breed Gucci? Gucci's a new standard poodle. Yeah,
she's a small standard poodle. Probably one time, family purposes though, probably. If somebody's wanting one. We'll see.
Right.
Because when we used to raise labs, you know how many puppies were born there. Her mom did just have 5, so there's a good possibility she could have 5 in the litter, but man alive, when you have 12 big puppies.
Well, Tammy and I, goes back a
big
long,
breed. That was crazy.
Ago. We had 3 lab girls.
They were a week apart from each other.
They all got pregnant.
Those 3 girls were all bred and pregnant.
They all had between 10 and 13 puppies.
No. There was 12 in each litter.
Or was there 12 in each litter?
12 in each litter. So times that by 3.
So, yeah. So we had
30, in the summer
36 puppies and 3 mamas all in a backyard in town. And I'm surprised. I mean, we really knew our neighbors well, and we were really nice to our neighbors.
We didn't my labs weren't allowed to bark and bark like some people do.
But it pretty much tore up the backyard, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
When they got older.
I told James, I said, we got to find something else. And that's when we found little Frenchies.
That's when we found a Frenchie. That's when we moved. And that's when we really started kind of learning a lot more about breeding dogs, wasn't it? That's quite some time ago.
Yeah, that's like 30-something years ago.
That's a Raymond Diaz says, nice to see you, James and Tammy. See you all again, happy and healthy. We are. What do you think is going to be the next craze when it comes to Frenchie trends to not be behind with a puppy in 2026? That's a good question. And I mean, it's going to be a difficult one to answer.
All the possibilities are there.
But what do you think? I'm going to say something, but you don't. I'm going to start off this way. First thing is get good structured doggies.
Yeah.
And the problem you have is with these crazy things that are going on, they tend to not have a lot of dogs to choose from, and so the structure tends to be a bit iffy in some of those dogs.
They'll have a lot to choose from, but the structure is lousy.
Yeah, right.
So give it a couple of years, and the structure's better.
The gene pool's not very big yet.
Go.
Yeah. So I don't have anything against these. What would be non-standard colors? Standard colors would be fawns, brindles, pieds, creams. Those are the standard colors that you can go in the show ring. Anything beyond that, lilacs, blues, chocolates, cocos, Isabellas, new shades, pinks, kois. All of those are non-standard colors. They can't be in the show ring. Huskies. And we don't have anything against any of those, by the way. I mean, as long as they look like a French bulldog and they look good structure, we're all for it.
Or the hairless ones.
I don't like those particularly,
No,
but I mean, but again,
me neither.
Right. So
that's our eye appeal.
So the problem here
is
a
lot of people that love them.
This is like predicting the stock market. I mean, good luck on this. I mean, whatever we tell you, it's almost certainly not going to be right. I can tell you one thing that's always going to be popular. That is a nice, solid, well-built French bulldog of any color is going to be a dog that people will want to have, right? I think that's a given. Now, if you start looking at the prices that were going on when Fluffies first came around, when COVID was going on, there were some just crazy prices. And so people still are trying to get back to those prices. It's not going to happen. It's just,
If you'll notice, the UK is always 2 steps ahead of us in the US. And so that's kind of a hint on what you should be looking for, but also look for that structure along with that. So,
well, there's a couple of things going on in the UK, though. There's things like merles and things like this that apparently are starting to get some banning going on with those colors. So,
well, now you can't get those dogs over here until they're 6 months old.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, so the whole European market has changed a little bit too, I think. So I don't know that I'd want to. I mean, look, if you're going to go buy a dog today and you've got, kind of basically unlimited funds, what would you buy? I know what you're going to say.
Go ahead and tell me, because I'm too tired to think.
I think that you'd be looking for probably a husky koi fluffy merle.
Well, a koi is a merle.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, right. Maybe a new shade version that might carry a copy of pink.
They have that little panda.
Well, there's
looking one
there's
too.
Poodles.
But yeah.
Some of them look absolutely.
And no, I'm not going to mix breed my poodle in case everybody wants to.
I agree.
No,
no,
I won't do that.
And
I'll keep her, if I breed her, I'll keep her with another full-bred.
If you look at the Poodles, some of them are just really cute little dogs, but most of them are not. Would you agree with that?
Some of them are kind of cute. Yeah.
So I mean,
some of them are different.
Yeah. So. And the other part
about the teddy bear ones, they got the teddy bear.
Yeah, the teddy bears, right?
So there's all kinds out there, which is cool because you get to see them.
Who's the guy in England who does a lot of this? Who's really been working hard at pushing?
I can't think of his name. Every time we do this,
I can't remember his name. Sanchez. Something like
Diego.
That. Diego, right? Diego in England has really
Denzer.
Okay,
Denzer.
Right. He has really spent a lot of time and effort developing kind of new lines.
He had a lot of money back behind him too to do this.
Well, he's made a lot of money doing it as well.
Yeah, he's made a lot of money, but he had a lot of money to begin with.
And I mean, I know people have spent $100,000 on a dog.
He's very, very intelligent.
Yeah, he is, absolutely. It's a bit different. Well, I don't want to say that because I mean, he's worked hard at it. And again, I don't know.
People that are usually intelligent are a bit different.
What does that mean? Anyway,
their brains are triggered different.
Well, so
James is triggered. His brain's triggered different.
It's because of you.
But
so again, I mean, this is a good question. And what would you go?
It's a good thing.
What would you go buy today? I mean, I think I wouldn't get totally immersed in one thing because I think that's a recipe. It's like investing in one particular thing is something that can go wrong. You need to diversify, and that way you can kind of change when things change a little bit. So there's one thing about getting dogs, for instance, that maybe it would be a pink carrier. Because it's not going to be as expensive, and you don't have to go all pink on that dog.
Well, that's what I'm going to have, and her name is. I'm telling you, I'm just so tired. I can't think.
Yeah.
Capri.
Capri
will be her name.
Yes. Right. So
she carries pink.
So we've
beautiful.
been. My battery's getting low. Hope we don't run out of battery here. Probably won't. We'll probably be all right. Yeah, so we've diversified a little bit. We've got fluffy carries. We've got.
But what I do is I'm real particular about any dog of mine that carries pink. And if you have one that is double pink and cream, I think it's real important. To me, it's real important to have pigment around the eyes.
Well, I'm going to do a video on this, on the pinks, because there's different ways this has been done with dogs like Bostons and other dogs that have been brought into the breed line to produce this. And I've been doing a little bit of studying on this. So I actually will do a video. It's probably going to be a couple of weeks, but I'm going to talk about all of this Pinks, Husky, Koi business and what's going on. So there'll be a video that comes out. Fashion Forward Mum says, is the progesterone test the blood test you put on the ceiling fan? Well, the ceiling fan is used if you don't have, anytime you've got to get plasma from blood and you don't have a centrifuge, you can use a ceiling fan to spin it down. So you basically take your blood sample, tape it to a ceiling fan, spin the ceiling fan on its highest speed for about 15 minutes and it will separate it. That's all that is. So if you're going to do a progesterone test, you could do that way because some of them need plasma. If you're going to do a relaxant blood test for the ones that we sell, again, you could do it that way. It's much simpler to have a centrifuge, but to buy a centrifuge, you're going to invest $100 probably. Okay.
I like how Patron said, you have to come get your structure from Cali. We have the best structure Frenchies. I beg to differ from you with this on. Yeah. There's always great structure. You just got to look and find it. And they're in other places besides Cali.
Oh, California.
But that was so fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
California.
Okay. Now with you, right? Yeah. Yeah. Right. So I didn't get to that one. You're jumping ahead. Hover 575 says puppies gaining weight, but I can't get them to poop a lot. What should I do? Well, if you've got a puppy that has a bloated tummy, and specifically if it's not a happy puppy, then give it an enema. So just take a syringe, go get some warm water, put a couple of drops of dish soap in it. It doesn't have to be that brand. That's what we use. And just gently squirt that up the butt. You can do that 3 times a day, and that'll get them pooping. But don't, remember, sometimes you think puppies aren't pooping because mum's tidying the poop up. You just don't see it. But if you've got a puppy that's got a bloated tummy and it's not happy, then absolutely enema is what will absolutely fix it. Heart and Soul Bullets, I love your products. What type of heat wire do you use for your heated whelping systems? It is a carbon fiber. It's a carbon fiber and silicone. So it's a specific kind of wire that we use. You made your own for larger breeds, and it was great for the pups, but burned out a floor in one spot. Yeah, be careful here. So, I'm an electrical engineer, so I kind of know about this stuff. And so I spent quite some time developing these systems that have protections in place, that have the right amount of current that goes through it so that you get a heating of about 7 watts a foot. And, there's quite a bit to it. And then it's a patented system by me, so I don't really want to give too much away of exactly what I've done to develop this system over the years. But be careful, because you absolutely can electrocute somebody or burn your house down. So be very careful. Be careful.
Somebody wanted to know that if you wanted to do a different breed, but do small breed, what would it be? We used to do, or my daughter started this, was the long-haired teacup chihuahuas.
Where are you getting to? You're getting ahead of me here.
I'm sorry, but I'm
okay.
just moving along. And those were the cutest and sweetest little dogs. But they were very tiny. Oh gosh, what, 2.5 pounds to 4 pounds at the most?
Mm-hmm.
They were little bitty. They were so pretty. But that's in the small breeds.
Well, there's some things to be said about small breeds too, isn't there? Mm-hmm. You don't have as much area. You don't have as much poop to pick up. Typically, you have small litters, which maybe go for more money per dog.
You got to watch those little male chihuahuas, though. They're fast as lightning.
Yeah, they are.
It can breed a female. And
then some other things as well is some of these, like doodles, obviously not a small breed, but I mean, doodles, Bernedoodles, all these
those aren't small breeds.
No, but what I want to say here is they're non-AKC, where you marry up 2 different breeds together.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for some of that stuff because you don't have to go through all the AKC process. So I maybe would look at that. I mean, I don't know what's out there and things like Pomeranians and things like that have been bred with other things. Do you know? Yeah.
I don't know.
But we're Frenchy people. So although Tammy's got this.
Now those King Charles Cavaliers are beautiful too.
Yeah, right, they are.
There's we just love every breed of dogs. There's so many. It's hard to say which one.
So are there some dogs you don't like because there's breeds I don't like? We shouldn't talk about that.
No, you shouldn't.
No, okay, we won't talk
you
about
shouldn't.
That. Right. Polly Johnson, do you give Neopar? Neopar is a brand of vaccine. Neopar's fine. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't specifically go out of my way to go get Neopar, but Neopar's fine. Gentle Giant says, I wish I could just focus on my breeding program full time. You need another source of income to make it work, though. You guys, have you on my breeding? So the answer to this is...
when we started, we had 2 or 3 different businesses going on.
Well, we did. Right. We had a computer company. We had a wedding business.
Once you build up and you're able to just do it off on your own and do dogs only, that makes it super nice.
So always the problem about being a one-trick pony, i.e. you only have one source of income. Now, give an example would be...
well, it's a gamble.
That's right. I mean, things can go wrong is the problem. Things can go wrong. And if you work for the man, then if things go wrong, it's his problem. He might lay you all off, but the chances are is it's pretty stable. If you work for a big company, you know that you sleep at night and don't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. When you have your own business, there's lots of other things you have to worry about. You've got taxes and IRS, and if you employ people, payroll taxes, and there's lots of other things. So I'm not saying that everybody should do it.
Well, what I did was groom dogs.
Yeah.
And then I had my labs that I've always had since I was 17 years old. And I started breeding labs and doing the white labs, and I was getting $1,000 for those.
Back when that was a lot of money.
Yeah, that was a lot of money back then. That was back in, late 80s.
Yep.
Early 90s.
Before you knew me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forget-me-not French says they had
That's
chickens.
what attracted James to me is he saw that I was...
Well, I had a lab. She had a lab. And our labs got hooked up.
No, they did not get hooked up. Mine were way better.
I had a black lab. He was a nice dog. But, Forget-me-not Frenchies has chickens. My Frenchies love them. Interesting, because our Frenchies would chase chickens.
Now, Trixie.
Oh, good Lord. Yes.
My daughter had
Rachel Roch is with us.
chicken one time.
Yes.
That wasn't a happy ending.
So Fashion Forward Mum says pet ovulation tester. There's a black box and a silver probe. You send a female. Can it hurt the female? No, it can't, but it's rubbish. So there's what you're talking about is the Draminsky. So I had a Draminsky. I bought one a long time ago because I was cheap and I didn't want to go through all the progesterone testing. And it sucked. I mean, it was just, the problem with it is it was just, it was unreliable. And I honestly think that I actually even tried to come up with my own Draminsky. I actually spent some time developing a system like the Draminsky. Basically, the way it works is you have a probe that you stick out the dog's vulva, and it measures the electrical conductivity of the vaginal wall. And there's supposedly a correlation between resistivity and how far the dog is. And you look for a jump on the curve, and it's just rubbish. It's rubbish. I think it's worse than rubbish. I think it'll confuse you, and I think you'll get your timing wrong. I sold mine, so it was a long time ago. Tammy says Tammy looks tired, and
I am tired.
Yeah, so you did good, honey.
And then I got to babysit at 6:30 in the morning.
My forget-me-not French. My vet takes blood from progesterone from my French's neck in the jugular vein. Is that normal? Yep. She claims because she finds my girl wiggly. Absolutely. I mean, lots of vets just taking the jugular. You got a huge vein right there, mainline vein, and it's really easy to get blood out of it. Is the answer. So
I cringe.
Yeah, we don't do it that way. We do it in the arm, but the arm definitely.
I've seen it when they can't get it through because sometimes some dogs got such little bitty veins.
Yeah.
The vet will have to do it in the neck.
Jugular. Yeah. So I mean, there's I
don't like it.
Right. I mean, it's just a question of what you're used to. Forget about Frenchies. What's your thoughts on Frenchies that have their front paws turned out? Is this a bone thing, or can it be corrected with training?
It can also be passed down too.
Yes, it's hereditary.
Yeah.
Almost.
You want those feet.
Don't like it.
Being straight.
Don't like it.
And not splayed out.
You
want nice, tight feet, like kitty cat feet. It's nice and tight.
So now you talk about the paws. If you see a dog that's been raised in a crate, on a wire crate, and nowhere else, they tend to have sprayed out feet. It doesn't look good.
Even not being raised in that.
That can be corrected. But what we like to see is nice, tight feet. Is what we like to see.
You don't want elbows displayed out.
Nope. Right. Yep. And you don't want them turned out like this.
No, and their back legs, you don't want that.
You don't want flying.
Because that's usually loose knees.
Loose knees and patellas. You don't want to see. Yeah. One way you can really.
You've got to watch them travel.
That's right. That's what I was going to say. If
they got a nice little traveling.
I think one of the, if people send you pictures of their dogs, great. That's fine. But pictures can be
wanna see-
manipulated, and you can take pictures so they don't show some of the negative qualities of the dog. The best thing you can do, and if you're selling a dog, I think it's this true as well. Take a video. It shows the dog in its true light.
And if they always show you a dog from way far away running, you want them to slow that dog down, bring that camera into that puppy.
Have that dog walking around in front of you in circles.
Front of you. Yeah, I mean, and then do a FaceTime. Do a FaceTime.
Absolutely.
Always do a FaceTime.
Because people. So the thing
Videos and FaceTime.
The thing about FaceTime is you can't manipulate FaceTime, right? You know, when that video is being done, it's live and there it is. You can take videos and you can clip parts of the videos out so that you can show what you want to show. So be careful about that. I think that any time that you know, people say, "Oh, I can't FaceTime. I don't have an iPhone." Well, they can.
There's always a way to FaceTime.
How do you FaceTime?
You can FaceTime off on Facebook. They can friend you. You can friend them. And then if they say, well, I don't have a Facebook, say, well, then got a friend that's got an iPhone. And if they're wanting to sell you a dog or,
I think
they'll
you should
come
FaceTime.
up with a way.
And I mean, you know, the other thing about this is that someone can scam you. They can send somebody else's video, right? They can clip out parts of it and put the little panel up with their name on it, make you think it's their dog and it's not. You can't do that on FaceTime. So FaceTime shows you the dog raw, real, and right now. And anything else doesn't flush for us. So be very careful about that. I'm not sure why I got into that, because it's almost like about the feet out. Right?
Yeah, splayed feet.
So what we like to see is a dog when it's standing and looking at you, its feet are absolutely in front of it, straight. You know, there's actually up and down like this on their front legs, absolutely up and down. And when they look at you from the back, it's up and down on their back legs. It's not knees kicked out. The profile looks the same all the way down the side of the dog.
Remember, what was that dog's name? Was it Winston that on the AKC?
That won the AKC? Yes.
Look at his little body.
Oh, beautiful dog. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But when you watched him travel, he traveled. He had nice, sweet travel.
So French Bulldog Pup says, we take blood from the neck on dogs that are difficult. Absolutely. There you go. You already talked about the Cali one, so I'm not going to say anything about that. We already answered that one because you're ahead. Oh, somebody said mini Dachshund is what they do. Okay. For the breed that have. Do you recommend a website to create your own custom web page? Well, yeah, I do. I mean, I think that, you know, if you're going to do much of this, a website's not... So
we got to have some more thumbs up.
We do, don't we? Yeah.
Please, please, please.
Okay, so on the website front, if you're going to do much of this, then it does make sense to have a website. If you're going to do much of it, then I'd recommend that you probably learn to put together your own web page, possibly, because then you can update it and change it, as opposed to have somebody else who's got control of this and doesn't have time to put the pictures up and so on and so forth. We use WordPress. It's not, you know, it's free, but like everything, it does take some time and effort to learn how to do it. And one of the problems is it takes a lot of time and effort to do it effectively in terms of making it look pretty. So it's not necessarily an easy thing, but I think any web page is a good starting point, because, you know, it gives you an opportunity to put lots of videos and pictures of dogs up. All right. Forget Not Fridge says, we love your heat tape. Thank you very much. Appreciate you using it.
I tell you what else you'd appreciate is that lift when you got puppies on the ground. Saves your back and your knees.
That's
and
right.
James still has some.
I got some, yes.
At the price that's cheaper than what it's going to be.
That's right. They were in
pretty soon. So.
Yes, that's right. They may be doubling in price. So right now they're $295, and they might be twice that. That's exactly right. Fashion Forward Mum says, I want to do all CKC. They're easy to do it. So the problem with CKC is, if you're in the Frenchie world, if you've got a CKC dog, it's worth about 2/3 of what a full AKC dog is worth. So that's the problem. Now the cost
and you may not be getting the full.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe, but I mean, I think the difference is, what does it realistically cost to have an AKC?
All they ask is send a picture in of the dog, and they go, okay, CKC.
Yeah, that's right. So you know, if you've got a non-papered dog, you go to the CKC typically, and you can get paperwork on it, which is not very meaningful, honestly.
We're never buying one with CKC.
No, absolutely not. Well, because the value of the dog is not the same. So what does it cost?
Well, I'm afraid it's not going to be a true breed either.
Yeah. Well,
don't. Just go ahead.
Well, I was going to say this. What is the cost? What is our cost? Once you've bought a dog, what is our cost to get AKC paperwork on a dog? And the answer is
cheap.
Yeah, it's $35 a litter and $2 a puppy. To have 6 puppies, it's going to cost you like $48, $50. It's just an irrelevant cost when you think about all the other things you're doing. You know, just doing DNA testing alone on a litter of 5, 6 puppies is going to cost you the better part of $1,000. So yeah.
Yes, the lifts are only $2.95 right now.
Yep.
But they're fixing to double because of
import taxes. Yep. Gentle Giants, I am an LVT.
Yes.
What's LVT?
It's just
My mom is always. I work for the VCA. My mom is always telling me, "You have mouths to feed, so do everything to keep a job." You're right, though.
Dad said, anytime. My dad always said, anytime you got kids that need shoes, you find work one way or the other. You can find it somewhere. There's always work. There's always work.
Well, I think the other thing, I think maybe one of the things that I'd say about this is you can take much bigger risks if you're a young person and you don't have a family. If you've got, you know, little babies that got to be fed, you know, that's a whole different thing. Stability is very important, you know. So if you're, you know, a single 22-year-old person, man or woman, you know, it's much easier to go risky on stuff because you've got plenty of time to recover and a lot of other people are not relying on you. But if you're, you know, 30 years old, I'm thinking about Chanel, you know, she's Chanel with a baby, and she's got married with her husband's got a good job, but they've both got, you know, very stable jobs. Well, actually, Chanel's probably going to get more into dog business again because we're encouraging her to stay home with a baby, and we can make that happen. So she's got some experience with this, and she can help me a lot on things like our videos, like my sister Sally does.
Well, she's an accountant.
Yes.
So.
Forget-me-not says, I was just looking at studs. I noticed one had turned out front paws. Wouldn't be my choice. Wouldn't be my point. There's too many choices out there with dogs.
Because you're going to get that in the litter.
That's right. Some of them anyway.
Yep. Maybe not all of them, but you will get some.
Yep. So somebody says, I didn't even think about weenie dogs, talking about smaller dogs.
Yeah.
Yep. Weenie dogs are cute.
Yeah. The little long-haired weenie dogs. My granddaughter's got one of those. He's a cutie.
So yeah, so you just answered that. Fast forward, yes, the lifts are $2.95. Exactly. And
let me tell you, it saves your knees, saves your back, no sciatic nerve going on when you've got that lift and you've got a litter on the ground. So
Gentle Giant says LVT is a licensed vet tech.
Oh,
no kids and 32 years old and single.
I should have known that.
Yeah. So you have lots of opportunities here. So you are a prime place to start doing a bit of mucking around, especially if you listen to people like Dave Ramsey, they say you should have 3 months worth of salary as your emergency fund. It's less critical if you're a single person. But I mean, remember that it always takes longer than you think it's going to take to get to the point where you're making a positive cash flow on something. So you've got to have enough funds so you don't get in trouble. And I mean, I would not recommend somebody going out and putting a big bank loan on to go buy a $30,000 French Bulldog. I wouldn't do that. I would buy that $30,000 French Bulldog after you've been successful. And I'm not necessarily saying that you should go buy a $30,000 French Bulldog, period. But if you decided that that's what you're going to do, I would not be risking the farm on this until I knew exactly what I was doing, that I knew that I had a very good chance of being successful. Wouldn't want to put $30,000 down on something that I didn't know much about. Go learn about this by starting with more basic dogs that cost $3,000 to $6,000 and start doing that, learning about this. And it's like, people say, should I get a stud dog? No, you shouldn't get a stud dog first. You should learn how to have puppies, raise puppies, know about those. Because if you're going to have a stud dog, you need to be able to help your customers with all that stuff. And if you haven't gone through it yourself, you haven't got a hope of giving them good advice. So just my 2 cents worth doesn't mean you should follow it.
Sage and Mike, read that one.
Sage and Mike says, I have 7 litters, all have I have seven litters, all have aspiration pneumonia. One just died. Should I make them lactate to their mother, let them lactate to their mother, or should I go tube feeding? Well, so so the problem here is, first is if you've got that many dogs that have got pneumonia, you've got to ask why that's happening, right? This is probably aspiration pneumonia is probably the reason for this. There could be other things, but typically things like pneumonia are not infectious things. They're not, Frenchie or dogs, normally what's happened is they've ingested milk and they've got milk in their lungs, and it then develops into a secondary bacterial infection, which is pneumonia. What do you do for those dogs? You put them in an incubator, you give them antibiotics, you tube feed them, and if necessary, give them oxygen. That's the protocol for this. And so, you know, if you're having problems with dogs aspirating milk, they will not aspirate if you tube feed. Now, I like mums to be with babies whenever mums and babies be together, and then nursing naturally whenever I possibly can. And it's very seldom that we take puppies away from mums. However, small litters, big fat dogs, mum's got a big milk supply. You often see milk running out of babies' noses, and we just let them get on with it. We mop it up. Just be careful. Have yourself a stethoscope so that you can listen to their lungs. If you don't know what it should sound like, compare one puppy with another. If it's crackly sounding, you've got milk in their lungs. And you know, first line of defense would be to have a suction bulb and get any fluids out of their nose and their mouth. But if it develops into pneumonia, which would be a discharge from their nose, a clear discharge or a yellowy discharge, you need to get on antibiotics quick. And then you need to go get the supplies to help these puppies. And that would be an incubator, an oxygen machine, tube feeding rig, and antibiotics. If you don't do that, you're likely to lose puppies. If you do it, you may still lose the puppies.
I was looking to see how many thumbs up we have.
We're not doing so good.
No, we
Come
need
on.
a lot of thumbs up. It's
People aren't liking
free.
this today.
It's
Right.
free.
Gentle Giant says she loves my Danes and my Frenches.
Yes, yes,
good
yes,
for you.
yes.
Absolutely. Cynthia Gale, do you think first PG test day 9 after blood is too late? Yes, I do. I think you can get caught out on this. You will get caught out occasionally on day 9. I mean, typically, if the dog is still got a really bright red discharge, you're still okay. But I would get your first blood test done about day 7 because some dogs can get bred on day 9. Most dogs get bred between day 11 and 13, but some dogs can be ready on day 9 or even earlier than that. You likely could miss it. So my advice would be day 7 for your first PG test. You could stretch that out a bit if the dog is still very bloody red on its discharge, but I wouldn't go to 9. And of course, one of the things to do is get a progesterone machine, because if you have a progesterone machine, it doesn't cost you squat to do it. You don't have to go to the vet. You don't have to waste 2 hours of your time to do it and $100.
And you could be doing other people's and
you could do other people's
earning
make money
a little
out of
money from it.
That's exactly right. And we do that, by the way. We do that. Not a lot of it, but we do. Of course, Cody does quite a lot of it because he does it with all the dogs that go to him to be bred. Every single one of those dogs gets tested by him.
That machine will pay off.
Yes, it will.
Just like that lift.
So if you look at the cost of a machine,
that lift pays off too.
Well, so that's one of those things. Okay, let's go into our selling it. Let's try and sell these people some stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta have that lift.
So
no sciatic nerve.
You think, oh, I'm young and sprightly.
Even Chanel needed that lift.
Well,
she was in her 30s.
27. I wouldn't say that she needed the lift, but she found out how nice the lift was to have. So give you an example.
Well, let me just say this. When you're on your knees a lot and you're cleaning those puppy pens that are the crates, your knees dry out so bad and then they peel. And so that was what got Chanel. She was like, Mom, my knees aren't peeling anymore.
So one of the things that we do with the lift.
But I'm saying, I don't have sciatic nerve anymore.
Well, the crate is on the lift. The crate's on the lift.
Yeah.
The crate comes up to about waist level. You can sit with a chair right with the door open, and you can play with Mum and those puppies, and you're right there, chest face level with them. You can be there for an hour or two.
There at the dinner table, and you're eyeballing them right straight across.
Right, having fun with the puppies, and it's hard to do that when you're on the ground, and it's so much more comfortable when you're in a chair. So you don't have to be, our age to be required to have a lift. Look, at our age, it's a must. Honestly, it's a must, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is.
You're giving up on me, Tammy girl.
Giving up on me. But yeah, that lift is great. The poop tray's fantastic. The heat tape is fantastic. The traveling incubator, all that. And then the oxygen concentrator is great too.
Yes. So Frenzy says, thanks to you both for your help. Good, you're welcome. Rachel says here, 7 litters or 7 puppies, because she says it's a lot of puppies to have aspiration, and it is.
Well, I'm sure it's 7 puppies.
I would think so too. But either way, I mean, she says, are you suctioning properly? So what she's saying is make sure that if you see milk, use a suction bulb. You can buy an electronic suction machine. We don't have one. I actually do, but I don't use it. But she says, it says incubated with oxygen and a nebulizer and moxil. So the nebulizer and you use Wellbutyrol is a good thing to have too. So there's some breathing treatments that are helpful. We don't hardly ever have to use that, but it's there.
Sorry.
Gentle Giants, I have 3 litters of my Danes. My studs have been successful, side over 9 litters for fellow breeders. As far as my Frenchy things have been slow getting started with a stud. Yep. So how do you get started with a stud? You offer deals. I mean, if you've got an unproven stud, people don't want to use your stud. They're not going to pay, big money for a stud that's never been used before. So what you should be using.
Well, the trick to that is also naming who his parents and grandparents are.
Well, absolutely. Yes.
When you're doing your advertising, you want to make sure that you've got the pedigree to prove how good he can be.
Yes, right. And I mean, well, the proof in the pudding is the puppies he produced.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And then you show those puppies off that he produced, and then people are like, "My."
And I mean, you can do things like, we don't do this these days, but you can do things like, and give a reduced price, for people who sign up early, give a reduced price for people who come back and breed, give a reduced price that they pay the rest of the balance later on. There's things that you can do to make the financing a bit easier for somebody too. But I mean, remember this, if the dog's not doing anything, it's not doing anything for you at all. So, even if you're getting a small stud fee, at least you're getting the dog out there and proving what the dog can do. So don't hold out for big numbers on a dog that's starting out his career.
Sage and Mike, we sell those oxygen concentrators. You don't have to have a tank.
Oh, don't have a tank. No, tanks are a waste of time.
Yeah.
So here's the problem with tanks.
Yeah.
If you go,
we sell that oxygen concentrator on our website.
Yeah, I think it's like
MyBreederSupply.com.
$470, and they're nice, small, neat little units. If you have an oxygen tank, here's the problem: you have to get a prescription to get the oxygen tanks filled, and they'll run out.
Yeah.
So oxygen tanks just not the way to go. I mean,
but buy it off our website, MyBreederSupply.com. Look that up, and you can buy that there, and you don't have to have the tank.
Fashion Forward says, "Mummy, Tammy's making me yawn." Right.
I'm sorry.
So Frenchy Forget Me Not says, tap the top left thumbs up button close to the comments box and you'll see it. Okay.
Yeah.
So Rachel Sage, who's having the problems with the numerous, I have all those, but not the oxygen because my locate.
That's what we just talked about.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, you need the oxygen concentrator. So the way the oxygen concentrator works is normal air that you and I are breathing is 21% oxygen, and the rest of it's mostly nitrogen. It has a thing called a molecular sieve inside it that separates the oxygen molecules from nitrogen molecules and concentrates the air coming out of it to about 91% oxygen, which is not pure oxygen like you get out of a tank, but darn close to it and perfectly good enough for what you're going to be doing. So absolutely, oxygen concentrator. I mean, if you're going to do any of this stuff, so I'm going to finish up on this because we're coming up to the end.
No, this other one, last one's good.
Muhard says, today was day 7 since my girl started bleeding. So I had to wait until day 9. And now you tell me that's not good, but every time I go on day 7, they're always low. Yeah, well, I mean, so here's the problem with this. If I tell you to wait till day 9, you go to day 9, the dog's at a 30, you're upset with me because you've missed the breeding. And I'm upset too because I would like you to use my stud dog. So there's nothing in this that says do it late. If you do it late, occasionally you get caught out. The problem with it is I think you have to realize that you're probably going to do 3 tests to get your numbers right. 2 if you're lucky, and 1 ain't enough. 1 is not enough because if you do a single test and you're right on the numbers, it means you are so close to the right place you may have missed it. And secondly, you're not doing a second test when you finish your breeding to make sure the numbers have stayed high, you haven't had some kind of split or delayed heat. So you're always going to do 2 and you're probably going to do 3. So whatever that's going to cost you, if it's $150 a time, that's $450 you should be buying a progesterone machine. Take control of this process. Just like all of these things, if you're going to be serious about this, seriously go get the right equipment. It doesn't cost thousands of dollars, but if you're going to get really set up on this, you're going to spend the better part of $3,000 on a progesterone machine or a centrifuge and some tests. You're going to spend another $250 on an incubator. You're going to spend another few $100 on supplies and other stuff. So now you're in this for $4,000, right? So if you have your first litter, I fully understand you're probably not going to spend $4,000. But if this is going to be something you intend to keep on doing, you should be prepared to spend that money. Because for us, a single puppy that would be lost is more than $4,000. Just a single puppy. And that is not a fun time, not a fun place to be. It's emotionally not fun, financially it's not fun, and it just makes no sense.
Rachel Rochester said she ordered a concentrator. Gotta have it, she says.
Yes, right. Yes.
And
absolutely.
then turns around. Do you sell progesterone machines
Yes.
on My Breeder Supply?
We do.
Yes, we sure do. Fashion forward.
Yes, we do.
We do. And then read this, guys. He's commenting in here. One phone PG machine was the best investment by far.
Yeah, so I agree 100%. So I mean, you look at it this way: if you
Read
can
this
get,
one.
so if you're doing a progesterone test, once you've got the machine, the test costing about $15. You can get a result in 15 minutes. So there's no point skimping on this. And a single puppy that you got more because you bred the right time, more than pays for the stupid machine that you're going to use for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. I'm still running on the same machine that I got as a demo unit when we became a dealer for Fine Care back 15 years ago. Still using the same machine. You know, they're very reliable. I have very few people who have problems. It's not to say they're completely 100%, but Fine Care is very good about fixing problems too. So I really recommend the machine. All right.
That guy right there. And
We
then
paid golden
he's down
retrievers.
here.
I don't think oxygen concentrators are as good as a real oxygen tank. You can't get as much pressure, meaning a lower concentration of oxygen. It may be good for the money. Well, look, I mean, so I would say this. Look, anytime that you've got any kind of an oxygen concentrator, you should test it. The way that you test it is you take a toothpick. I've got a video on this. Take a toothpick, light it so it's on fire, blow it out so it's an ember. And if you blow on that toothpick, you will not get it lit again. You might, if you really blow slowly and very carefully, you might get it to light. But if you put that in front of a working oxygen concentrator, it will erupt into flames immediately. That is if you set it on its lowest setting, 1 liter a minute, just about all of these oxygen concentrators are producing 90%, 91% oxygen. That's damn close to 100%. I just don't think that's going to make much difference personally. But the thing with tanks is they're hard to fill. They run out. You have to get a prescription. That's the reason for not having a tank. And I mean, I have used tanks. The very first time I needed a tank, I went and used one of my oxygen tanks off my oxyacetylene equipment because I had a puppy that's in trouble, which it worked. But yeah.
He's sitting here. Same guy.
You can't get as much pressure.
Right.
Yeah, we read about that. You can't get as much pressure, meaning a lower concentration of oxygen. Well, that's not true. So the concentration's got nothing to do with pressure. If you're running this thing at 6 liters and 7 liters a minute flat out, which is for humans, then the oxygen concentration goes down to about 60%. And you're right, that's no good. But these things are designed for humans that weigh, something between 100 and 300 pounds. Your puppies weigh a pound. You don't need anything but the very lowest setting, and any decent concentrator will be making 90%. So I'm not buying your answer here, but I don't mean to offend you. But I can tell you that I've used both, and there's big problems with using oxygen tanks that are completely gone away with an oxygen machine, and they've always worked for me well.
Gotta have some more like buttons before we get off here.
Yes.
Pretty please, please hit that like button. It's free.
When your female gets an open pyometra, what do you do to cure this? So the answer is
go to the vet.
You get antibiotics. So you've got to diagnose it correctly, and you get antibiotics as soon as you possibly can.
Thank goodness it's an open one.
And then you give it a few days to see whether she's acting better, or temperature's going down, and generally you're heading in the right direction. If that doesn't happen, then you may have to have a spay the dog. If it's a closed pyometra, it's very likely you have to spay the dog. But the solution to this is antibiotics and time. That's the solution to it. But without that, you're going to get in big trouble. What temperature should my whelping shed be? I don't know what your whelping shed is, so I can't tell you. But if you're using our heated whelping system, it would be 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 degrees centigrade.
Fashion forward is the progesterone test kit the machine or no?
The progesterone test kits are the kits that cost about $50 a test that you have to buy to go with the machine.
15?
50, yeah. I think you can buy a box of 10 for like $150, I think. So
okay.
You have to go look on the website. It's not a replenish. So you have to get a new test every. It's a throwaway item. You have to have the machine to read the test. The machine's like $2,700. Oh, she found what she's looking for.
Okay.
Come on, people, subscribe. The thumbs up. It's all free information. Yeah, it is. Thank you for getting me, not for reminding people.
Yes.
So on that note, we are gonna.
Probably next week I'll know if I got a female pregnant, and the week after next I got another female pregnant. So keep your fingers crossed. They're going to be pinks. There's going to be kois. There's going to be Merles. There's going to be full fluffies and fluffy carriers. There's going to be lilac and tans. Oh,
Everything
just
under the sun. It's all going to be
yeah,
there.
I can't wait.
I'm excited
New
too.
shade Isabellas
We haven't had puppies in a while. I'm
and
ready for
Rojo
some.
and tans.
Ready for some
Yeah,
puppies. Ready
yeah.
for some puppies. I
Yeah,
love
James
puppies.
loves to experiment on all my puppies.
Oh, I've got.
on
So I
new
said last time that I
ideas.
show you my my flat chest prosthesis. I didn't do it. Part of the problem is I don't have any puppies, so I've had to have use other people, send other people to try on their puppies. It's working well, but anyway, I was going to say something else and I forget.
It said their shed is 8x8.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I can't give you an
Thank
answer
you.
on this as to what the temperature is because it just depends on
Yeah.
The answer is if you've got it right, the puppies are quite happy. That's the answer.
Mhm.
But our system, it's a regulated system with a heat tape. The
Mhm.
heat tape's regulated with a thermostat. We know exactly what's
You
going on.
take
Anything
8
else?
feet by 8 feet, it's hard to
I just don't know. I can't answer the question. I just can't answer.
monitor
And part of
the
the
heat.
problem is that if you don't use our system, then you're heating the whole area up, everything up, and mum's getting cooked. And so this is another big problem with things like heat lamps and heating pads. You basically get mum getting too hot.
Mhm.
She doesn't like it. Whereas if you can just put the heat around the periphery under the pig rail, that's the place the puppies go to. It makes them safe because they can't get squished, and you've got the right amount of heat right in the right place. So that's the argument behind that. Anyway, but
That's what Rachel, we're hoping for our little koi grams too.
oh, Rachel says that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
but
Rachel's
I've
the
got
girl from.
MBA on another female, so I
Yes.
cannot wait.
So you met Rachel at the Dallas Fort Worth show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
She's
She's a sweetie.
she is
She's
absolutely
a pretty thing too.
She is. She's a very pretty girl. Yeah. So
One thing we didn't advertise for sale: your courses.
that's what I was going to say. So did somebody say something about that?
No,
Oh, okay.
me.
Okay, I thought maybe Sally said. So Breeder 101, there are courses there. There's about 6 of them now. They are, they're tuned. Each one is a course about a particular subject. Like, for instance, marketing puppies, one of our more popular courses. They're not expensive. There is a discount going on. And maybe I'll get Sally to put that in the description down below if it's not there, what the discount is, how you can get it. You own them. You can watch them forever. They're streaming, so you don't have to download anything, which means that you could be sitting in a line waiting to pick up kids and watch a 15-minute lecture on how to take photographs. But again, go look at those things. It helps support us and it helps you be a better breeder. And it's not junk and everything comes with a money back guarantee. If you don't like it, you get your money back.
Sage and Mike said they're from the Filipinos.
Oh, yeah.
And
good.
Yeah, said they love watching they almost watched all our videos. Wow, that's a lot.
Yes, we've got lots of videos. All right, on that note, we are now way past our time, so we appreciate everybody who's joined us today, and we will see you next weekend.
Yeah. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.